December 2nd, 2025. Chapter 7, Section 3, 7.3. This is a long one, so this is going to be part 1. Attributes of an Arahant. The teaching of Buddhism is a practical and emphasis things. The teaching of Buddhism is practical and emphasizes things that lead to insight and well-being. Buddhism does not encourage conceptualization and debating over things that should be realized through practical application, unless it is necessary for basic understanding. In relation to the study of nibbitta, or nibbana, or nirvana, rather than discussing the state of nibbitta directly, it may be of more value to study those persons who have realized nibbitta, as well as the benefits of realization apparent in the life and character of such persons. We can gain such insight into the nature of the Arahants by looking at the epithets used for them in the scriptures, the Tipitaka, the Pali Canon, the Dhamma. Here is a section of these epithets which expresses appreciation for their virtue, purity, excellence, and the degree of spiritual attainments. Now, first, it is noteworthy to note that the 8 noble beings, as we discussed, are 4 pairs of the 4 noble persons, right? First, we have the Dakiññā Pugala. Dakiññā is one who is worthy of worship. Pugala is a person. Then we have the classification under training, Sikha. And then we have what they have abandoned on each of the 4 stages. Samyojana, these are the fetters to be abandoned from the 5 skandha, or the aggregates. The first one is a sotapanna, one who enters the stream to realization. Now, the training involves in perfect moral conduct, proficient level of samadhi and paññā, so sufficient level of concentration and wisdom, the use of wisdom faculty. Now, the feathers that are abandoned is sakkaya ditthi, vichika, and silapata paramasa. The second category is the once returner, sakkaya nagami. The training is perfect moral conduct, proficient level of concentration, and wisdom. The fetters to be abandoned is attenuated greed, hatred, and delusion. And then the non-returner, the third level, is the anagami. The training would be perfect moral conduct and concentration and proficient level of wisdom. The fetters being abandoned is kamaracha and patika. And finally, the 4th stage of the Dakiññā Pugala is the Arahant, or the Arahanta, one who has extinguished the flame of all the 5 skandhas, who has perfect moral conduct, concentration, and wisdom. The fetters being abandoned is Rupa Racha, Arupa Racha, Mana, Ucha, and Avijja. It's noteworthy that these epithets examples are in Pali language and translated into English. Anupata Sat Datta, one who has attained well-being. Arahant, one worthy or worthy one, a person far from mental defilements, asavas and kilesas, far from them. Aseka, one who has finished training, a person not requiring training, a person possessing the qualities of an adept, aseka Dhamma or aseka pukala. Katakaraniya, a person who has done what has to be done. Kina sawa, a person free from mental taints, free from asavats. Mahapurisa, a person great in virtue, in sila, one who acts for the welfare of many people, one who has self-mastery. Opintabara, one who has laid down the burden. Paramakusala, a person possessing superior wholesome qualities. Parakina bhava samyojana, one who has destroyed the fetters which bind people to existence. Samadana vimutta, a person released through consummate knowledge. Sampana kusala, a person perfected in wholesomeness. Uttama purisa, a supreme person, a most excellent person. Wusita wat or Wusita brahmacariya, a person who has fulfilled the holy life or a person who's practicing celibacy. Many other terms were originally used by other religious traditions like Brahmanism and other aesthetic sects. By their meanings was altered to accord with the essential principles of the Dhamma Vinaya. For example, Arya or Arya Pukala, a noble person, an excellent person, a person who has developed non-violence towards all beings. Originally, this term referred to members of the first three castes, or of those who are noble, Aryan by birth. Brahmana, a true Brahmin, a person who is passed beyond evil by abandoning all unwholesome qualities. Originally, this term referred to members of the highest caste. Dakinaya, one worthy of offerings. Originally, this term referred to those Brahmins who are worthy of reward for conducting sacrifices. Kevili or Kebali, a whole person, a complete person. Originally, this term referred to the highest individual in the Jain religion, Jainism religion. Nahataka, one who has been ceremoniously bathed, one who has been bathed in the Dhamma, in the law, one who has purified his or her volitional actions of karma, their intentions, one who is a refuge for all beings. Originally, this term referred to a Brahmin who passed through ritual of bathing and was elevated in status. A samana, a tranquil person, one who has quelled the defilements. Originally, this term referred to a renunciant in general, or in modern times, we call this a novice. Vetagu, a person who has arrived at the knowledge, one who is well versed in the knowledge, one who is released from attachment to feeling, released from Vedana. Originally, this term referred to a Brahmin who has finished studying the 3 Vedas. Now, some of these words are frequently used, while others occur infrequently. The last few words in particular were adopted from ancient Brahmanistic expressions, although given a new meaning to accord with the Buddhist principle. For example, Brahmana originally referred to someone who has transcended evil by bathing in the holy rivers, the Ganges. But in Buddhism, however, this term refers to being free from evil as a consequence of practicing in accord with the Eightfold Path. Or it is used as a metaphor in reference to one who has bathed in the eternal law of Dhamma. To understand the nature of an arahant, it is necessary to consider the epithets in the context of the teachings in which they are mentioned. For example, the three taints, the asavas, the three training, the raisika, the 10 qualities of an adept, aseka dhamma or aseka pukala, the 10 fetters, samyojana, and the holy life, brahmacharya, as the Eightfold Path. Many Buddhists tend to describe the attributes of an arahant and the other awakened beings from a perspective of negation, by determining those defilements that have been abandoned or dispelled. For example, a stream enterer has eliminated the first 3 fetters. A once returner has eliminated these 3 fetters and further attenuated greed, hatred, and delusion. A non-returner has eliminated the first 5 fetters, and the arahant has eliminated all 10 fetters. Although they define an arahant briefly as one who is without greed, hatred, and delusion, or one who is free from defilements, such definitions are useful in that they are clear and provide a simple standards of evaluation. But they are limited. They do not clearly demonstrate the exceptional characteristics and prominent features of an awakened being, nor do they describe how such beings live virtuous lives and benefit the world at large. In fact, there are many terms and passages describing the characteristics of an arahant in the affirmative ways. Many descriptions of explanation of arahants, however, cover a wide range of the subject material, making it difficult to summarize. The positive attributes is clearly defined, well-ordered way. Otherwise, they recount specific incidents and individuals, but do not describe attributes common to all arahants. An important term in this context is bhāvitatta, which literally means one who has developed himself, or one who is self-developed. These translations are from the Pali word bhāvitatta, which is equivalent to the meaning to the phrase attanam bhavetawa veta ita tito. Bhāvitatta refers to one who has developed him or herself or is established in such cultivation. This term is used for all arahants. The awakened Buddha, the silent Buddhas, the Pachika Buddha, and all arahant disciples of the Buddha. For example, in the Mahaparinibbana Sutra, while the Buddha is traveling to the place of his final passing away, he is referred to as the developed realm. Surrounded by the midst of the groups of monks, Gautama Buddha traveled to the river Kakutta, and bathed in and drank from its clear, bright, clean waters. He traveled to the mango grove and said to the Bhikkhu Chandaka, "Lay out an outer robe, fold into 4 layers for me to lie upon." And thus prompted by the great adept bhāvitatta, Chandaka quickly laid out an outer robe, folded it into 4 layers. A similar expression is found in the question by a Brahmin student, Metaku. "Gautama, Blessed One, I wish to make an inquiry. Please tell me the meaning. I will thus consider the Venerable Sir to be the master of knowledge of Vetaku, a fully developed one, bhāvitatta. From where does all this abundant and diverse suffering in this world come?" Gautama Buddha compared a fully developed one, an arahant, who is well versed in the Dhamma, Bhāvitatta, a clever ship captain who is able to guide many people across the sea, reach their destination in safety, is as illustrated in the Nava Sutra. Just as one who boards a sturdy boat, fully equipped with oars and a barge pole, who is experienced and skillful, knowing the methods of the helmsmanship, is able to assist many others across over the waters, so too one who is master of knowledge, Vetaku, a fully developed one, bhāvitatta, a highly learned one, Bhāvitatta, stable, unshaken by worldly things, endowed with wisdom, is able to help those who prepare to listen in order to investigate the Dhamma and to reach fulfillment. The Loka Sutta is similar to the previous sutta, but covers a broader subject matter, as evident from the following passage. Monks, these three kinds of persons appearing in the world, appearing for the benefit of many, for the happiness for many, for the compassion and assistance of the world, for the welfare, for the benefit, for the happiness of the devatas and humans, which three? Here Tathagata appears in the world. He is the noble one, the fully enlightened one, perfect in conduct and understanding, the accomplished one, the knower of the worlds, the peerless trainer of those who could be trained, teacher of gods and humans, the awakened one, bestower of the Dhamma, the eternal law. He teaches the Dhamma, he teaches the eternal law, beautiful in the beginning, beautiful in the middle, beautiful in the end. He reveals the holy life of complete purity in both spirit and in letter. Monks, the first kind of person, when appearing in the world, appears for the benefit of many, for the happiness of many, for the compassion and assistance of the world, for the welfare, for the benefit and happiness of the devatas and the human beings. Furthermore, there is a disciple of the same teacher who is an arahant, one whose mind is free from asavas, the taints, liberated as consequence through knowledge. That disciple teaches the eternal law of Dhamma, beautiful in the beginning, beautiful in the middle, beautiful in the end. He reveals the holy life of complete purity, both in spirit and in letter. Monks, this is the second kind of person, when appearing in the world, who appears for the benefit of many, for the happiness of many, for the compassion and assistance of the world, for the welfare, the benefit, and happiness of the devatas and the human beings. Furthermore, there is a disciple of that same teacher who is still in training, still practicing, engage in virtuous conduct, and practice silavata. That disciple also teaches the eternal law of Dhamma, beautiful in the beginning, beautiful in the middle, beautiful in the end. He reveres the holy life as complete purity, both in spirit and in letter. Monks, this is the third kind of person, who when appearing in the world appears for the benefit of many, for the happiness of many, for the compassion and assistance of the world, for the welfare, for the benefit and happiness of the devatas and human beings. This is from the Buddhaghosacariya Sutra. The teacher, the supreme seeker, is the first in the world. Following him, the disciple, the adept, bhāvitatta, and then the disciple in training, Sika Sawaka, still practicing, erudite, engage in virtuous conduct and practicing. These three kinds of people are supreme among the devatas and human beings. They radiate light, proclaim the truth, open the door to the deathless, and help to liberate many folk from bondage. Those who follow the noble path, well taught by the teacher, the unsurpassed leader, if they heed the teaching of the welfarer, will put an end to dukkha, suffering in this very life. Note, however, that these terms, bhāvitatta, is most often used in a poetic verse rather than in prose. This is most likely because the concise and to be used easily in the verse is a replacement for the longer, more drawn terms and phrase. Another reason why the short term, bhāvitatta, tends not to be used in prose is because the meaning is not clearly defined, as there are not the same limitation in prose as there are poetic composition. Longer terms and phrases can be used for the sake of clarity. At this point, it is useful to ask what terms and phrases are used to prose instead of the term bhāvitatta. To answer the question, let us look at an explanation found in the Tipitaka. The 13th volume of the Tipitaka, the Kuranitesa, which is considered to be the collection of teaching by the commander, the chief disciple, Venerable Sariputra, elucidates some of the Gautama's Buddha sutras containing in the Sutta Nipita. One passage in the Kutta Nitesa explains the term bhāvitatta as appeared in the questions by the Brahmin student Metaku. How is the blessed one an adept? Here, the blessed one has developed the body, bhāvitakaya, developed moral conduct, bhāvitasīla, developed the mind, bhāvitacitta, developed wisdom, bhāvitapaññā. He has developed the 4 foundation of mindfulness, the 4 right efforts, the 4 paths to success, the 5 faculties, the 5 powers, the 7 factors of enlightenment, the 8-fold path. He has abandoned the defilements, penetration unshakable, realized cessation. Katam bhagawa bhāvitato bhagawa bhāvitakayo bhātasilo bhāvitasito bhāvitapaññā bhāvitasati patano bhāvitasamma patano bhāvitatipato bhāvita indarayo bhāvita palo bhāvita pochano bhāvita mago Bahina keleso bhāvita kupo sachika niroto. Again, he has developed the 4 foundation of mindfulness, the 4 right efforts, the 4 paths to success, the 5 faculties, the 5 powers, the 7 enlightened factors of enlightenment, the 8-fold path. He has abandoned the defilements, penetrated the unshakable truth, realized cessation. Now let us look at a prose passage by Gautama the Buddha describing the 4 areas of self-mastery, bhāvita. What are considered an explanation or an expansion on the concept of an adept, bhāvitatta. Monks, there are these 5 future dangers as well, unarisen, that will arise in the future. You should recognize them and make an effort to prevent them. What 5? In the future, there will be monks who are undeveloped in body, morality, mind, and wisdom. Despite being undeveloped in body, morality, mind, and wisdom, they will give full ordination to others, but will not be able to guide them in higher virtuous conduct, adhisīla. Higher mind, adhicitta. Higher wisdom, adhipaññā. These ordainees, too, will be undeveloped in body, morality, mind, and wisdom. They, in turn, will give full ordination to others, but will not be able to guide them to higher virtuous conduct, higher mind, and higher wisdom. These ordainees, too, will be undeveloped in body, morality, mind, and wisdom. Thus, monks, through corruption of the Dhamma comes corruption of the discipline. From the corruption of the discipline comes corruption of the Dhamma. This is the first future danger, as yet unarisen, that will arise in the future. You should recognize it and make an effort to prevent it. Again, in the future, there will be monks who are undeveloped in body, morality, mind, and wisdom. Despite being undeveloped in body, morality, mind, and wisdom, they will give dependence to others, but not will be able to guide them to higher virtuous conduct, higher mind, higher wisdom. These pupils, too, will be undeveloped in body, morality, mind, and wisdom. They, in turn, will give dependence to others, but will not be able to guide them to higher virtuous conduct, higher mind, higher wisdom. These pupils, too, will be undeveloped in body, morality, mind, and wisdom. Thus, monks, through corruption of the Dhamma comes corruption of the discipline. From corruption of the discipline comes corruption of the Dhamma. This is the second future, and yet unarisen, that will arise in the future. You should recognize it and make an effort to prevent it. This aforementioned teaching by Gautama Buddha is connected to some essential Dhamma principle, bhāvitatta. Occasionally, other terms which a similar meaning are used instead of bhāvitatta. In particular, the term attadanta, one who has trained oneself, self-tamed, as the verse praised the Buddha. Manu sa putam sam putam atatantam samahitam devapitam namasanti. Translated, indeed, although a human being, the perfectly enlightened one is achieved self-mastery, whose heart is well cultivated. Even the devatas venerate him. The bhāvitatta is a word of praise, gunapata, a term describing a virtue or a superior quality of Gautama Buddha and the Arahants, as those who have developed themselves and completed their spiritual training. When one expands on the meaning of this term into the four mastery of physical development, bhāvitakaya, moral development, bhāvitasīla, mental development, bhāvitacitta, and wisdom development, adhipaññā. This pertains to the teaching of the four kinds of cultivation. Bhavana, cultivation of the body. Kaya, bhavana, virtuous conduct. Sila, bhavana, the mind. Citta, bhavana, and wisdom. Paññā, bhavana. Here one needs to know that the fundamentals of the Pali language, the term bhāvita is used either as an adjective or an adverb, describing the qualities of an individual. The term bhavana, on the other hand, is a noun, describing an action, a principle, a form of practice. There is a compatibility between these terms. In bhāvita refers to someone who is fully engaged in bhavana. Therefore, one who is developed in body, bhāvita kaya, has engaged in physical cultivation, kaya bhavana. One who is developed in virtuous conduct, bhavitasīla, has engaged in moral cultivation, sila bhavana. One who is developed in mind, bhavitacitta, has engaged in mental cultivation, citta bhavana. One who is developed in wisdom, bhāvitapaññā, has engaged in wisdom cultivation, paññā bhavana. This is equivalent to saying that an arahant is one who has completed the fourfold cultivation. He or she is accomplished in physical cultivation, moral cultivation, mental cultivation, and wisdom cultivation. Again, he or she is accomplished in physical cultivation, moral cultivation, mental cultivation, and wisdom cultivation. To clarify this matter, here is a brief description of the four kinds of cultivation. Bhavana. The first kind is physical cultivation, kaya bhavana, physical development, to develop one's relationship to the surrounding material things, including technology, or to the body itself. In particular, to cognize things by way of the five faculties of the five skandhas, or the five aggregates, by ear, by eye, by nose, by tongue, and by body, skillfully, by relating to them in the way that is beneficial, does not cause harm, increases wholesome qualities, and dispels unwholesome qualities. The second kind of bhavana cultivation is moral cultivation, sila bhavana. This is a development of virtuous conduct. To develop one's behavior and one's social relationship by keeping a moral code, by not abusing or injuring others or causing conflict, and by living in harmony with others and supporting one another. The third kind of cultivation of bhavana is mental cultivation, citta bhavana. This is to develop the mind, to strengthen and stabilize the mind, to cultivate wholesome qualities like loving kindness, compassion, enthusiasm, diligence, and patience, to make the mind concentrated, bright, joyous, and clear. And finally, the fourth kind of bhavana cultivation is wisdom cultivation, adhipaññā bhavana, to develop and increase wisdom until there arises a comprehensive understanding of truth, by knowing things as they are, by gaining clear insight into the world and into phenomena. At this stage, one is able to free the mind, purify oneself from mental defilement, be liberated from suffering. One acts, one lives, and one solves problems with a penetrative awareness. When one understands the meaning of bhavana cultivation, which lies at the heart of the aforementioned ways of practice, one also understands the term bhāvita, which means an adept, which is the attribute of those who have completed their spiritual practice and fulfilled the four kinds of cultivation. Physical mastery, bhāvitatta. This refers to those who have developed the body. That is, they have developed the relationship to their physical environment and their physical body. They have a healthy, contented, respectful relationship to things and to nature. In particular, they experience these things by way of the five senses, say by seeing or hearing, mindfully and in a way that fosters wisdom. They consume things with moderation, deriving their true benefit and value. They are not obsessed or led astray by their influence of preferences and aversions. They are not heedless, rather than allowing sense stimuli to cause harm. They use them for benefit, rather than being dominated by unwholesome states of mind. These individuals nurture wholesome states. Moral mastery, bhāvitatta. This refers to those who have developed virtuous conduct and developed their behavior. They act virtuously in regard to society by keeping a moral code, living harmoniously with others. They do not use physical action, speech, or their livelihood to oppress others or to create conflict, but instead they use these activities for self-development, for assisting others, and for the building a healthy society. Mental mastery, bhāvitatta. This refers to those who have developed their minds. As a result, their minds are lucid, bright, spacious, joyous, and happy. Their minds are full of virtuous qualities like goodwill, compassion, confidence, gratitude, generosity, perseverance, fortitude, patient endurance, tranquility, stability, mindfulness, and concentration. Wisdom mastery, bhāvitapaññā. This refers to those who have trained in and developed wisdom, resulting in understanding of truth and clear discernment of things according to how they really are. They apply wisdom to solve problems, to dispel suffering, dukkha, and to purify themselves from mental impurities. Their hearts are liberated and free from affliction. A noteworthy passage in this sutra is where Gautama Buddha states that those monks who have failed to fully develop their body, fully develop virtuous conduct, fully develop mind, fully develop wisdom, will become predecessors and teachers, but will be unable to guide their pupils in higher virtue, guide them in higher mind, guide them in higher wisdom, in moral conduct, in sila, concentration, and wisdom, paññā. They're unable to guide them. It is interesting that when describing the qualities of a teacher, Gautama Buddha mentions the 4 kinds of self-mastery, bhāvita. But when he describes the subject of study, the teaching of the principles of practice, he mentions the traisika, the threefold training of moral conduct, concentration, and wisdom. In full, these are referred to the training in higher virtue, adhisīla sika, the training in higher mind, adhicitta sika, and the training in higher wisdom, adhipaññā sika. This distinction may arise several doubts. First, why doesn't Gautama Buddha use complementary or corresponding terms here? Wouldn't he have made it more sense for him to say that one who is not fully developed bhāvita in the 4 ways is unstable to guide someone else in the 4 cultivation, bhavana? Or conversely, one who has not completed the threefold training, the traisika, is unable to guide someone else in moral conduct, concentration, and wisdom? Moreover, the factors in the teachings are nearly identical. The dual teaching on cultivation, bhavana, and self-mastery, bhāvita, contains the 4 factors of body, virtuous conduct, mind, and wisdom. The threefold training, on the other hand, contains the factors of virtuous conduct, concentration, and wisdom. Therefore, wouldn't it have been less confusing if Gautama Buddha has stuck to one of the other terms of the 2 teaching rather than combine them? Many Buddhists are familiar with the sequence of practice of sila, samadhi, and paññā, and thus the threefold practice is considered to be complete in itself. They are generally unfamiliar, however, with the extra factor of body, kaya, and may wonder why it was added and what it means. Here, let us simply conclude that Gautama Buddha presented these 2 distinct teachings in the same context in reference to the attributes of a teacher. He mentioned the 4-fold mastery of self, bhāvita, while in reference in the subject of teaching, he mentioned the threefold training of traisika. That will be the end of part 1 of the attributes of an Arahant. Page 664. Part 1.